NLL Lacrosse Talk. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download, make sure you rate and leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire, Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also on all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now, on NLL Lacrosse Talk, our co-host Gary Groob and our very special guest, offensive coordinator and director of player personnel for the San Diego Gulls of the National Lacrosse League, a lacrosse Hall of Famer, one of the lacrosse greats. I guess being a Hall of Famer is that's sort of redundant, right? The one, the only Josh Sanderson. Mr. Sanderson, it is a true pleasure to have you here. I've enjoyed you over the years watching you play. I haven't had the opportunity to watch you coach yet, but I have a feeling, just a small feeling, it may not be as entertaining as watching you play.
Probably not. No, probably. Yeah, you had a lot more to do with the game when you're playing, but definitely roll out in San Diego, so it's been a nice adjustment from playing.
Yeah, you're okay. You're not underwater or anything, are you?
No, I'm all right.
Good.
That's good.
The first thing we like to ask, our first question always is, how did you end up picking up a lacrosse stick?
Through my dad and family, luckily got into it right away. So I started at a young age. So definitely my dad and family, playing with that. And it was very good.
What do you recommend about the game and what it did for you? I mean, you're going from being a player to being in management, so it's a full life cycle for you.
I think is the biggest thing. Enjoy that aspect of it. Obviously, it's carried on, getting older, playing and coaching. And so I just, love being a part of the team, love competing and all around. So I'm lucky to stay involved after my playing days.
One of the greatest coaches in lacrosse history happened to be your father. What was it like growing up under a guy that understood the game as much as he did?
Well, definitely, obviously helped me probably get to this level. Helped me playing. Growing up, he was coaching me a lot of the time. So definitely his knowledge and took a lot of what he taught me to what I'm using right now.
Do you feel that you can find your way out of his shadow, because he does cast a long one?
No, I'm fine being in a shadow, no problem at all. Don't feel any shadow at all. He's a great coach, and lucky to be in a spot working with people I really like in San Diego. So everything's going pretty good for me.
Gary.
Well, let's just go back and start about the Orangeville program in itself. We've had a number of players, former players, current players on the show, and everybody talks about the program itself. What makes it so special that it is almost more important to be on the Junior A team than making it to the NLL the way it comes across?
Well, I definitely think we have good coaching at the minor system, where kids and teams have a chance to win all the way up, which is, leaves a good experience, and then they want to play. Of course, a lot of them are watching junior as they're playing minor. So system, we got 3 junior teams now, and it's just, it's just a big lacrosse. Yeah, it's nice. We're lucky, and we're also lucky that, everybody gives back. I would say it's, the alumni is good too, so we just got a good thing going.
Right. Now you hit the ground running when you went to the Junior A team. You hit Rookie of the Year in '94, MVP in '96, 3 Minto Cups. The team itself was just so immense. Let's talk a little bit about that and some of your teammates and over the years there.
Yeah, well, definitely lucky. There's a really good age group, 1975. So when we went in there, the 1975s had a couple of years of 4s and 6s, but just real lucky to go into a real solid. Was able to win in '95 and '96 with that group, and then we were a bit younger after that. So, yeah, just lucky playing with some really good players. Obviously, good friends. Years of junior was a great experience. So, definitely, like I said, lay with a real good, and we had some toughness. We had a bit of everything. So,
Right.
That opportunity. So lucky for me.
Now, just playing in that arena itself, I love going into the Tony Rose Arena. You feel the history, you feel the ambiance, just the way it's set up. To play in there, though, the electricity, how did that help the teams along? Because I know it's the same as in Peterborough. Everything circles around, especially game day. Everything circles around the teams itself.
Yeah, you know what, Gary, I love playing in that rink. It was like, the crowd's on top of you. We usually have good crowds, especially against some of the top. It was nice, you get scoring, you get some momentum, and it's definitely a home floor advantage every team has in the summer.
Sure.
So, still love that rink. Still love watching. Yeah, it's just obviously a lot of good memories there, and then.
Right. So you move up into the Brampton organization. I happen to have something. I think you'll enjoy this one. Some of the Man Cup years.
Yeah, definitely.
It's missing your signature, so the next time I run into you, if you could throw one on there for me, it'd be great. But
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Brampton program, because that was in the glory years of the Excelsiors. 3 Man Cups there, 2002, 2008, 2009. Some great teams there as well.
Yeah, actually, after junior, I went out to Coquitlam for a year, and then enjoyed myself, tore my knee up, and that's when I ended up signing with Brampton. Luckily, with my uncle shopping out at the time, and then I was there for the next decade or so, and we had some great center to home, and we won. Had great rivalries, Six Nations, obviously the longest one with Peterborough, some good ones with Brooklyn. So it's a really good decade with the Excelsiors, and lucky again to play on and have a chance to win some Man Cups.
Now, there's been a whole lot of the turbulence and everything else going on in the MSL. What can you say is the difference really between the MSL back then and the MSL of today?
Well, I just don't think they made the adjustments going. The NLL goes longer than ever. I just think it should be a short, more guys playing more games. As far as fans goes, when you're going to the games, you don't play off time basically. So I just think there's a better commitment back for now on the players to, sometimes be ending if they go to the finals in the middle of June last year, and then expect to be playing MSL right the next day. So it's made with so much lacrosse going on now, but definitely I think there's a lot stronger teams, and I think now there's not as many strong teams. There's the top East and West.
Right. The other part I think is the marketing, because everyone, the NLL has gotten on the marketing boat and has gotten on the TV contract boat. MSL, WLA's got a little bit of it going, but the MSL seems to be left behind in all of that. So if you don't know when the game is, it's hard to get you and your friends out to the game.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different elements to it. The year I did play it, and it was very well ran, and I know a lot of the centers are closer, so I could go watch different games. When I was on with Oakville, just tough to. I've always found it tough to get MSL to take steps forward, to step behind, and yeah, it's tricky. I love watching the Man Cup, and I love watching the playoffs, but other than that, like when I was playing.
Right. You figure Jamie just had enough, and he took the hiatus last year, and again now this year, he's pulled Oakville out of there, and I guess the senior B team will be very strong for the President's Cup that's going to be at track. But do you think he's just frustrated with how things are going, and that they should be taking bigger steps?
Yeah, Gary, it's tough not to be, but we were frustrated with a lot of things when I was working with him, and it's just tough to see where he's coming from. They might be back in next year, so hopefully it's just a an hiatus. But yeah, it's frustrating, and these owners put a lot of money. I just think I think you agree that it could get to another level.
Absolutely. Let's talk about your NLL playing career. You get drafted to Rochester in 1998. Your first foray into the league, it just changed over from Mill into NLL. Let's just talk about getting involved in the league as a rookie.
He drafted me in the second round, and I didn't really know much about the NLL, to be honest. I really only knew about senior B and Orangeville Lacrosse, and went to try out again. Lucky enough to find my way on with one of those last spots, competing with some good lefties. So I was in and out of the lineup for 2 years. It was a tough adjustment. And then when I got to Albany, that's when the game slowed down, take off a little bit, and do what I did in junior.
Yeah, setting the assist record with 68. That was a huge step. It seems as though you got your footing then. You got very comfortable in the league. You were able to do what like you said, what you were doing in junior.
Yeah, it was. I was told again, and it was tough not playing a little bit in Rochester. But you look back and the experience, the guys I got to play with and learn from, obviously helped me that next step in Albany and we do. So, I just found some chemistry with some of the players there and made games, and it was it was nice. And then I just moved on from there where to get chemistry with the guys and win the lacrosse games.
Right. And then they moved to San Jose. You were part of that blockbuster trade that brought you to Toronto in 2005 just for that juggernaut championship. Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I remember it well. I remember that season. It was magic.
Yeah, that's probably the most nervous I've ever been joining a new team. To Toronto, so I'm really glad that worked out, Gary. I tell you that much. Still good friends with a lot of people on that team, and it was great. The 2005 years.
Right, and you set an assist record then also with 71 assists, just to add to the fun.
Well, sometimes when you're playing with some of the goal scorers, I did get them the ball for their shots.
Right, and then the darker days in Toronto, the couple of years that just were a little off. The change of ownership as well just after that as well. But you get traded to Calgary for Lewis Ratcliffe in 2008, and you win with the Roughnecks in 2009. Now again, another powerhouse team, but probably the best attended games in the West Coast was Calgary games. That was another one of to me, it was another one of those Orangeville things, just at a bigger scale. That the city just embraced that and just ran with that team.
Yeah, support the Roughies. I had a great 3 years in Calgary. I loved in good home crowds, like you just mentioned. We had a real good team. So yeah, it was just Calgary playing there, and that 2019 was a real. I was lucky for that, and again, Troy and my dad were out there, and my roommate now I'm coaching. So it's it's lacrosse is a small world.
Absolutely. Now you go to Boston, and there's an interesting thing too, because Boston was a great team, but they got involved with the silly ownership things with the arena deals and other things, and they couldn't make money and disband. And through a number of different things, you wind up back in Toronto. And
the Boston year was it was a cool. We had a solid team. I don't think we had as much depth as we needed to, probably to make a run. Maybe we could have won that playoff game against Buffalo. Yeah, it was nice to get back home. I was busy. Obviously, family was really busy at that point, and decent runs. That's obviously couldn't finish the job when Edmonton got 2015. So that, obviously that one would have been nice.
Yeah, I ran into a hot Aaron Bolt who was playing for bigger things at that time too. It was yeah. We had him on the show. We talked about that, his magical season that year for his now departed wife. But actually, through that the Rock's resurgence, I guess through 2010, 11, you came in 12, and still had that that feeling that the city embraced the team. Jamie put out the money and put them on TSN, so the crowds were good at Scotiabank Arena or Air Canada Centre at that time. It's funny because one of their promotions wound up with you and me together at the in the Raptors game in Jamie's box.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. Your son was just really small at that time.
Yeah, he wasn't very big then, but he came along.
Yeah. So
I like my time in Toronto for sure. With obviously the Waters group and then Jamie, they were. It was nice playing close.
Right. Now you retired in 2016 after a stellar career of 1,500 plus points, and you moved more into the coaching, more to the GM side too. Now you took over the Oakville job more or less after your dad passed. You were as they figured, the perfect fit, and I agree. The mindset and everything there was perfect for it. How was the adjustment from playing to now in the front office?
Yeah, it was pretty. It was good. I knew, I wanted to obviously stay in the game, and we had some solid teams. We took it as a big challenge to try to, try to get past 6-8. And obviously with Toronto, the assistant manager job, we had a lot of turnover. Obviously, myself and Boom, a lot of the older guys were starting to obviously call it a day, so we had to bring and Latrell, Reed, Dan Craig on the list, Tommy and McCardo from the States. So we needed players. We had to bring in a lot of guys, and it was a good couple of years there.
Josh, can we drill down a little bit on all the transitions that you had a little bit, and how those changes impacted you and what they did for your thinking, playing, and your future management positions? So you traveled through a couple of teams in the NLL. What's your view of the NLL from that position, where you can stand back and look at the experience, giving people an indication what it was like to be a player at the NLL level at that time?
Well, it's a tough travel, and depending on your job. So, as far as a coach, I try to help out as much as so much maintenance, right, throughout the week, making sure, if you're on a long flight or your body's prepared to play. So obviously a lot easier on the coach, but playing, it's these players got a lot of respect for the grind in the week, and to be able to play their best lacrosse on the weekends, pretty amazing.
It's pretty consistent that lacrosse players don't make enough to just play lacrosse, so they have to do other things. Has it progressed? Has it become a little easier for the players to work out their work life alongside their lacrosse life, especially when we consider how much the league has expanded over the past few years and the map has gotten wider, right?
I think you do have a few more full-time players, obviously, but it's playing in just playing in the NLL. You're playing in the NLL, the PLL, or you're playing in the NLL and doing some coaching or something like that. So it is, but it'd be tough to make it just on lacrosse salary.
Yeah. The point being, there's lots of opportunities in different ways, in different places, but if you're willing to travel.
100%. It's growing in the States. Obviously, the field game with the PLL is taken up, ending with US box law. Still got a ways to go, but hopefully it keeps growing in different areas of the U.S. And then, Ontario and a lot of places took a hit around here. So we also need to build it back up at the Grayo and BC and that area. So, yes, it's growing, but yes, there's get it to be one of those mainstream sports.
But the underlying point, I guess, is the U.S. has not been as interested at a grassroots level in box lacrosse as they are today.
That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. It was always field, and when I grew up, I didn't play minor field until I didn't play till I got to high school, which has changed now. You got in Canada, kids playing field earlier because they always play box, and then the U.S. kids playing box earlier, and obviously field all the way through. So yes,
and that's all because there are different challenges depending on the community that you live in. If you live in a warm climate, it's harder to play box because there aren't as many opportunities, and there are lots of opportunities for field play almost all year. So there's different challenges. It's amazing, at least from my perspective, watching the game, how many different places lacrosse players can come from using so many different avenues, it seems.
Yeah, you're totally right. The facility in different areas, right? So obviously lucky for me, I grew up in a hotbed, but if there's east, you may not have, right? And you got to travel 45 minutes to get to your practices. So yeah, it depends, area depends on, a lot of things. It's growing and is getting into more towns and cities, and hopefully as it goes.
Okay, Gary, I'm good.
All right. So we've talked about the Toronto years. We talked about the getting in there. Now you've gone over to San Diego. Took a lot of us off guard when you left the Toronto job to take the assistant coaching job in San Diego. Now, it's almost like Toronto South, though, because you're with a whole bunch of guys that you played with here in Toronto, between the Merrills and Greer and the rest of them, right?
Yeah, we had a few guys. Yeah, I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to coach and get on a bench, and to work with a good friend of Patrick and Billy. Best team we could. So Patrick with his brother Brody, and that Patrick had relationships playing. So it's same with me. So so very fortunate that I'm still getting to work with Patrick, but obviously me. And then I just enjoy it. Steve and Joe have been great. I just really like being a part of the organization in San Diego. So I'm very thankful that.
Right. Now, they're almost a blueprint for how an organization should be. They come into the league. They also do grassroots things before they're even a team, getting into the community, talking in schools, getting sticks into kids' hands so that people are excited and pumped for that first game. Talk about just getting things ready before they even started to play.
Yeah, Steve did a great job out in San Diego. We got a couple players that with Wes and Burley, big part of it, and some other players along the way. So they've done just a great, and you're seeing it now with their crowds. I think we had a bigger crowd in our second game, a bit of a drop off, but ours went up this past little bit. So and we could feel the energy in Saskatchewan come back, and then there's even more people in there this past week. So it's obviously winning helps, and we're going to try to keep winning. But from Joe to Steve, Patrick worked so hard. It's been it's been going pretty good out there. It took a little. I think we're starting to see the growth and the commitment in the community.
Right. And that's a big thing too, because you've spent a lot of time with the programs of under 17, under 15, under 9. And I've watched a few of them over when they're at the track up here. And these kids are good, and they're excited about being part of the SEALs organization. So I think they did it the right way, building. Because again, if you're building way back when, I think the whole idea is to get them when they're really young, put them through the whole thing, and then hopefully get them in the draft.
Yeah, for sure. And then when you got pros who growing the game like Cam and Wes out there, it's a lot easier for kids that they get to watch their coach play on TV or the computer, and you're right, it's really starting to take off a little bit, and it's a great spot for lacrosse.
Right. Now the team itself, you guys have done a fantastic job. You have basically an all-star team between Dobie, Dixon, Burke, Crowley, Leclerc, Stotts, Guffett. It goes on and on and on. You've been able to bring back Jesse Gamble. You have Brody on there. It's a nice mixture of veteran leadership, youth for speed, great goaltending. Again, we talked off air. I love having Chris Algieri. I think he's fantastic, and I think he's going to make a big name when he actually gets really rolling in the league.
Yeah, no, we feel obviously we feel we have our best team since we've been there. Obviously, as try to build up as much as possible and add pieces each year. Well, this year, I'm going to start our most depth. We definitely have more athleticism, so to speak. So, yeah, but credit to the guys. They play hard, and it's worried about the names on the back as far as trying to build that chemistry and work real hard a way to keep getting better each week. And obviously there's tons of good teams get better, and if you're not getting better, you're going to fall behind. So good group, but yeah, Gary, and a big game against Calgary this weekend, so we're going to try to a nice road win if possible.
Absolutely. We've got a great start so far. So a few nail biting moments, but the ends justify the means. Just a solid team and showing character, because you can be down by 6-7 goals and nobody looks that concerned. They're put on your helmet and away you go and start digging.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, definitely. New York game got a little hectic at the end. We didn't need, and then on 10-3 isn't a recipe for success, but it was nice to come away with both of those. But the Calgary game in Calgary, we got better. Obviously, had a little hiccup in the second half, but they had a hard push. Goals and plays that were tough to stop. So, and then the Vancouver game after won pretty darn good last week, and found a way to get another 2 points. So yeah, we do have guys, and some of the free agents still working on chemistry. So to be painting masterpieces early, but we do expect to be getting better and to win games, and that's what we've been doing so far.
Right. I look at it this way though. Their character wins the first couple of games you're talking about. If everything was a breeze throughout the season and then you go into a playoff push and actually have some adversity, nobody knows how to react to it. If you have that stuff off the hop, these guys learn how to play one another, especially when things aren't going at the best, and they just get stronger. And the Vancouver game was a good example of when everything's rolling.
Yeah, 100%, and we're still gonna adversity yet. Because teams are going to be getting better throughout the year and stuff like that. Yeah, that's definitely nice to get in some different situations and find a way to win those games. And Calgary to throw everything at us again this weekend, and we're going into a so we would love to be able to find a way to have a real good effort and go into the bye that way.
What's the biggest change when your team starts a season like they are right now, 4-0? Does it affect how you coach?
Well, it's definitely. I think you definitely get losses. So, you're making adjustments after wins, which is great forever fun. But it's making sure that attention to detail, because things can slip a bit. Real good leadership group with our guys, and some wily veterans that are keeping tight, and we're just taking it one game at a time. So you're definitely right. If we're slip through a little bit, but we're you got to stay focused and realize you got a week in between and you got to realize some of these teams are playing with their back against the wall pretty early. With Vancouver being 0-3, we knew they had 2 weeks to prepare for us. So every team's best shot. So we'll be ready for Calgary's best shot this weekend.
There aren't many teams in the kind of climate that your team plays in. What are the challenges there for you as a coach?
Well, with some of the older players, we got them being able to practice outside when it's warm. I can getting their body a little looser than if they're flying in and it's minus 30. With getting some guys in the weather, because it's a nice spot to play. Obviously, with our crowds building up, we expect we want to play in San Diego, but the weather's been nice, that's for sure.
I guess I relish your role there a lot, like Cito Gaston with the 92 and 93 Blue Jays. You have all this talent, and it takes a professor to keep everybody on point on the grand picture. Because if you have all this star power, there's only one ball. And to keep all the egos in check and make sure everybody is working with one another, I put a lot to the coaching and how you guys, Patrick, Bill, keep everybody focused and on the task at hand and what the big picture and what the prize is at the end.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, we good character guys too that want to win, right? So yeah, we got to harness some emotion sometimes. Our mind, a lot of the guys have been 1 and 2 options, so trying to be very, very unselfish and we're a good sign. But the guys that Patrick brings in, and Patrick does so much work, especially in the off seasons to get us better every year, and the guys buy in right away and ship too. But I never worry about the one ball thing. It's just going it selfish, and at the end of the day, guys want to win. So if you're winning games and they're moving the ball, the extra pass or grabbing loose balls or picks, they'll keep doing it. They want to win.
Right. So everybody is there for the grand thing. Nobody is more important than the team itself, which is terrific. And again, I put it a lot on the coaching and getting the message across on what everything is there. Now we got about 10 minutes or so, and I want to go through some of the accolades for you, because you're in 4 Hall of Fames, right? You're in the National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame, the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame, just recently the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, the Orangeville Lacrosse
there
Hall
it
of
is.
Fame as well. And that's the one
There it is.
I want to talk about that one more than the other ones, because a lot of the players we've talked to, that hometown one is that much more important. Now, granted, they're all huge accomplishments, but just something about the hometown Hall of Fame.
It's a great honor, and it's been a little while now since I went in, but names of people I followed growing up, obviously my dad's in there and family. So yeah, it's special being in the Orangeville Hall of Fame. But I don't take any of them for granted. Lucky with my career, with the people I played with and the teams I got to play for. So I don't. All 4 of them are special to me. So yeah, that last little bit with the CLA and the OLA too. So yeah, just it's just great to be in with all the greats of lacrosse.
Is it hard to go through doorways from time to time? With the head being as big as it. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding you. You should have a really big head. I mean, you've had a wonderful career. The game. I look forward to watching you play, going down to the rink and watch you play. And you're not a big guy. And lacrosse it's getting to be a big guy's game. What's it like for the little guys? You think they can still make a good contribution to the game?
Sure, they can. It's tough. It is tough. And I got a couple boys probably, so it's going to be a tougher grind on them than I think it was for me. so athletic now. Back when I played, if they were big, they didn't really have the quickness, and now, they got that size and that speed. So, but it definitely still can, the elite level has got to be elite, and IQ's got to be high. But for sure, small guys can play this game for sure. But yeah, it's good. Remember a few years ago, the draft, the first three guys were like 6'6". I think it was 6'5", and like 6'7" or something like that. So yeah, it's definitely. But just like hockey, I think hockey's gone back a little bit. We're more skilled. The same thing. You want to see skilled plays. Fans want to see skilled players. There's definitely room.
Right. When we had Commissioner Sakevich on a couple of years back, what he had mentioned was where the league is basically now is where the NHL was around the mid-'70s. The TV contracts were coming. The teams were stable. They had expansion, but they were on the cusp of something great. Do you figure that the league has gone a little bit further than that now? What do you figure is the state of the union here for the NLL now?
Well, I definitely think with the ownership groups, it's moving. Joe involved, and then Kroenke and Pugh. Yeah, definitely have and Kurt and Jamie. You got some really good ownership groups. So markets like Saskatchewan, and sometimes it takes time to build. So you got to be patient, but then also not working. You want to try to find those cities that are going to get behind it. And I think you guys both agree that's a very good product. Absolutely. So it's just a matter of get eyes on it, and grassroots, like we talked about earlier, and so because I don't think it's an expensive sport like some of the other ones, right? Once you get a few ads, there's just not a ton of money in it. So as far as it's a ways to go, as but I think we're heading in the right direction still.
Well, anybody who's listened to me, knowing I've been on my soapbox for years, so we have the greatest secret known to mankind, and just to get it out there, to do it on social media and platforms is fine. It's preaching to the choir, though, because we're already at the games. It's to get it on cable, and now we've finally got that. It's to get it to the next step now. It's there. When we're talking with Brett Frood, when he was on a few weeks ago, just before the season started, more about stabilizing every team that's in there as opposed to thinking about more expansion. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. Obviously, the couple at the bottom end, kind of build them up, and you're always hoping, those teams have some success because it helps build fan bases winning. So, but yeah, there's a few strengthen, and but I'm sure he's also looking at future markets that might take better than some of the markets are right now. So it'll be interesting to see what Brett does. Really good job.
But it's important that all the teams that do come in, the ownership groups that do come in, understand it's not a license to print money. They really have to understand the business plan. They have to understand what it takes to have a successful franchise. And that's one thing Sakevich taught us, is that he made sure all the teams understood the basics that are required. And that's really important. The game sells itself, but it does need a business side.
100%. The travel budget, need a good arena lease. So contracts are, not rising huge, but you're right. Definitely need a good business plan. And then if you have a good team on, it's easier to sell when your team, is winning games and they're getting behind it. People are watching. So yes, I couldn't agree more.
I think that every commissioner that the league has put in over the last while now has had their position on how to get to the next level. Sakevich, of course, with expansion and stabilization. Now with Frood, who's, of course, from NASCAR with all the marketing and running multi-level, multi-billion-dollar companies. I think that's where the league needs to be now too. So to use that expertise to get moving, I think they're in the right direction. It's just getting to the next floor. I think that ground floor thing is done now. I think we're moving the elevator slowly moving upward now.
Yeah, I agree with you, Gary, and small steps, but hopefully, definitely small steps each year. So,
right. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time. I know you again. We talked about you have a Calgary game this weekend, so you have a busy schedule. For taking the time to talk with us, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
No, thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it, and it was nice, gentlemen.
It's totally our pleasure. So, Gary, thanks for doing this. Of course, Mr. Sanderson, Josh Sanderson, thank you for doing this.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching NLL Lacrosse Talk, seen live Thursdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For Lacrosse Talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, see you Thursday at 4 p.m.